everyone, it's Tamara from Dr. Digi Stamps with another tutorial using the new Choir of Angels images that have just been released. I thought they'd be perfect for some Christmas gift tags. You can use any tag or rectangle dies that you have in your stash. I've chosen to use an MFT sentiment, but you can use whatever sentiments you would like. I'll be doing an ink blended front panel using some Distress Oxide inks in a speckled egg, peacock feathers, and finishing with chipped sapphire. Then I'll be using a lawn fawn stencil and adding some Nuvo Moonstone shimmer paste and using my Nuvo tool to apply it. So let's do some colouring. I have an A4 piece of white cardstock. I'll split that into 3 sections so I can do ink blended panels for all my gift tags because I'm doing multiple ones. So I'll start with the speckled egg, then go up to the peacock feathers and then finish off with the chipped sapphire. Make sure when you're applying your colour you go in circular motions to try and ensure that you don't leave any harsh lines. I do find the rounded sponge heads seem to work the best for not leaving any streaky marks. I always keep a piece of white printer paper nearby just in case you need to touch your ink blended panel. Just stops any finger marks getting into your ink blending. Now my peacock feathers is quite a juicy pad, so I just kind of knock off any excess ink onto my glass mat, and now I'll go back and forth between the chipped sapphire and the peacock feathers and try and get as smooth a blend as possible. I just keep working between the two until I'm satisfied with the blend. And then I'll do the same with the speckled egg and the peacock feathers and just go back and forth with those circular motions going back. And I'll use some of that ink that's on my glass mat so that it ensures that that peacock feathers doesn't overpower the speckled egg. So I'll just check and see how that blend's looking a little bit more to make sure it's nice and smooth. And now I'll just do the other 2 panels ready for cutting out. So I've already pre-cut all my gift tags because I'm sure you don't want to watch me doing that. So now I'll just get my rectangle die that I'm going to do the front panel, and we'll cut those out. So I do like to use my purple tape just to keep that secure when cutting. Now I'm just using my magnetic station to hold down my little panel, and using my lawn fawn stencil. I'm using the Starry Sky stencil from Lawn Fawn, and I'm just popping it down with the magnets to keep that in place. I grab my Nuvo paste and just take off that little lid to make sure it doesn't dry out, and then just grab my little tool and just grab a small amount and spread that. Try and spread that as evenly as possible, not putting too much onto your panel, and just place as amount at the top and then just smooth that down. I always like to scrape off the excess. Sometimes it is a little bit hard to get the Nuvo Moonstone. It seems to sell out because it's quite popular. So I don't like to waste. And just make sure that that's in all these stars. And let's lift that off and reveal what it's like. It's stuck there, so we'll just peel that off. And that's the starry background. It's very subtle, but it just gives it that nice shimmering effect. So I'm going to just do some white heat embossing for my sentiment. So I've just cut out a few black sentiment strips. Grab my sentiment out from my MFT stamp and just pop that on and just place it as center as possible. Put down my Misty, and then I always like to prep it if I've never used the stamp before, which I haven't. I always like to give it a rub down to make sure there's no little bits sticking to it, and then I just get a bit of powder tool to go over my panel just to ensure that there's nothing for the white heat emboss powder to stick to other than the stamp word. I use my Verse watermark and put that down. And then I always like to do it twice just to make sure you've got a good impression on your panel. That looks good. So I'll just grab my white heat embossing powder, and I always just dab it off onto a piece of A4 paper that I've just kind of split in half, and that way you can easily put the white powder that falls off back into your thing. So that looks good. So I've heat embossed that, and now I'm just wiping off the excess powder that the powder tool uses. I grab my panel strip to cut out my sentiment strip. I'm not actually using the two banner dies that go to the end of this one. I'm just using the main one because I don't have enough room on my tags to allow those little end bits. So, but I found that this one just fit the size perfectly. So we'll cut that out. So I've got all my tags cut out, my panels cut out. I've fussy cut all my images and just put some 3D foam on the back. Now with my tags for my sentiments, I've actually just popped some cardboard on the back. I don't like using too much foam tape, just for environmental reasons. So we'll stick your panel onto the top. I try and make it as centered as possible, so it just leaves that beautiful little white border around the edge. And just make sure that's all lined up and even on all sides. It looks good. Put the glue away. And then I'll grab my image, pull off the release paper on the back, and I'll just try and line that up and center it in the middle as much as possible. Before I push it down, I just make sure that it is even on both sides, and then give it a good press. And then this is where I just put a bit of glue onto those cardboard pieces, so because I like it popped up, but obviously don't want to use too much foam tape. So just going to pop that panel on the bottom, and just want to make sure that that's even along the base as well. So and then just give it a good press down. Check that that's all lined up and straight. which looks good. Now we'll just put some tops on. So I've just grabbed some just silver kind of foil that I've got in my stash. Just going to cut a length of that and just loop it around. And I always like to just loop it through the back. I find that it works best that way. So I just loop it through and then just pull the 2 cords through. And then this one's a little bit long, so I'll just trim off the excess. And that's that one done. So I'll show you again. So just cut off another piece of thread to a certain length and then just loop it together. Try and make it as even as possible. Then loop it through the back. Put the 2 cords through the loop. And then just give it a pull to secure that in place. So that's all our gift tags done today. I'll finish off the rest off screen. And I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial and I can't wait to see what you create. Have a great day. Bye.